Woo! It's the boy, Bubba Lutz, coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great. And which team always make you go right way. Yeah.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast, episode 236. We are finally doing the review and ultimate discussion about the Cowboys versus Bucks Thursday night game, where the Cowboys fell short 29-31 to the Super Bowl defending champions. I wanted to have Kevin on this podcast. Unfortunately, due to just everything going on, wasn't able to make that happen. And I was really excited to have this debate with him because after that game, as soon as that game ended, texted him. He texted me actually, saying, hey, I'm impressed. Better than I thought, right? And we said that. We mentioned how in the preview, what's our expectation for this game and what should we be excited for? And we both said, if this is a close game, 31-20, 31-24, and we're on a pretty close pace here with 31-29. I mean, it's only a 2-point game, right? The Cowboys covered the spread, and you could say, based on actually watching the game and individual play, there are some exciting things to look forward to in this Cowboys season. I'm not that excited, but Kevin was very impressed by the Cowboys and how they held up, and I straight up told him, I said, I'm actually more devastated and disappointed than I thought I was going to be. And I didn't think this was impressive at all for the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going to be hypercritical when it comes to this Cowboys team, as always, right? That's just what I always do on these podcasts. But there is a reason for it. It's not just me trying to be negative and saying if it's not a win, then there's no optimism to come. I wanted to believe in this team. I want to go. I was expecting a loss, but I wanted to see how they work and how they play in a losing situation. And I will give them all the credit in the world if I see 53 guys on a roster play their hardest and try their best to win this football game. I did not get that feeling from the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night. I'm going to throw the stats out there because this is the most mind-boggling thing to ever be seen in a stat sheet. I mean, and the Cowboys made history. The Bucks made history. They both did, really, in the worst way possible. I'm just going to throw this tweet out there for you guys by Bobby Belt, at Bobby Belt Texas, or TX, on Twitter. The Buccaneers are the first team in NFL history to lose the turnover margin by at least 3, incur 100 penalty yards, and allow 450 yards offensively and still win the game. That's the first time we've ever seen that happen. The Cowboys won every single stat on this sheet possible to say they should win the game. Had more first downs, had a better efficiency on third down by a good margin. The Bucks only had 5 of 11 third down conversions. Cowboys 9 of 17. They had plenty of more opportunities, had plenty of more time on the field. And speaking of time on the field, over 34 minutes of possession for the Cowboys, only over 25 for the defending champions with an explosive offense and a great offensive line, by the way. Penalties, Cowboys had 8 for 55 yards, not much, but those are very critical penalties that incurred. And then 11 of 106 for the Bucks. More rushing yards, more passing yards, more total yards offensively with the same amount of drives for both teams. If we just throw away the names of these teams and we just blank them out, it's Team A versus Team B, and we looked at the stat sheet, we say this is a very offensive-heavy game, but I'm going to say that the team with over 34 minutes of time of possession who controlled the ball and was more disciplined, according to the penalties, and had more yards, had more first downs, was better on third down. They should win by at least a touchdown. And then there's that one stat. I forgot to mention the turnover margin. Cowboys only had one interception or one turnover. That was the interception that fell through the hands of CeeDee Lamb. We'll get to him in a second. And then the Bucs had 4 turnovers. I would say that the opinion of the Cowboys defense forced these turnovers. I would say 2 of them were forced, and then the other 2 were just brutal mistakes by the Bucs because they weren't focused. But to say that this Cowboys defense is different now, I disagree. But the one standpoint or one key point in this game was the red zone efficiency. Cowboys 1 of 4, the Bucs 3 of 5. And it was absolute terrible execution by this Cowboys offense late into their drives, very short fields, and of course Greg Zuerlein, who again we'll get to in a second. This doesn't make sense, and this is my argument. If we are putting the Cowboys into an expectation and a level of they should win this division handedly, they should win 13 games this season. They don't have to play a playoff opponent until week 11 with the Chiefs. If they are serious NFC East or NFC conference contenders, and we think of them as possibly a Super Bowl team, how are they so bad at finishing a game? Why can't they execute and finish off drives and make the plays that need to be made in critical situations or not make mistakes in critical situations? This team fails day in and day out for years and years to overturn this argument. They are making the same mistakes they have made for years. And they are making the same mistakes they made last year in the first year of Mike McCarthy. So with an off-season and a preseason, shouldn't you see progress? Shouldn't you see those moments of like, now we're starting to see a different team. Now we're starting to see them overcome all those difficulties in previous years. I saw the same Cowboys team, and I saw the same... I guess I saw the things that I knew I was going to see. Look, the Bucs played the worst possible game. Maybe not the worst possible game, but they played one of the worst games they could have possibly played. They made terrible mistakes. They turned over the ball too much. They were unfocused. They made a lot of just mental like hangover Super Bowl vibe type of things, and I kind of expected it. I was like, yeah, they think that they're perfect. They're really not. But once they get on a roll, it's pretty much over for this team or whoever they play. And they went into a week 1 regular season with not a lot of preseason play out of Tom Brady or any, really, and a lot of this offense and defense. And they looked a bit rusty. Like, they're not in prime form already, but like you could tell that the Cowboys were trying to play harder, and they put up every possible stat that they could have to win this game, and they didn't. That's the thing, is that the Cowboys played a phenomenal game to a lot of people, and the Bucs, to me, played one of the worst games I've seen them play in a very long time. I mean, they won 8 straight, including the Super Bowl and a playoff run to end their season last year. Like, I've seen good football out of Tampa. We've all seen that. So this was not it for the Bucs. Like, this was a terrible game on film to look at, and yet the Cowboys still couldn't take advantage. And the decisions they made, some of the mistakes they made, were just the same old Cowboys that I've seen. Look, what was I expecting to see out of this game prior to it happening? I thought Dak was going to be fine. I think we can all agree that Dak's fine, right? We are fine with this Dak Prescott. That man was locked in. And some of the throws that he was trying to make, yeah, they may have just been like questionable, to say the least. But there was perfect ball play. That was elite ball placement by Dak Prescott, even on the interception. Like, it should have been caught by CeeDee Lamb. Dak Prescott wasn't perfect last night. And for him to throw 58 times in this game, I know it was the game plan going in that they weren't going to run the ball a lot, but 58 to me is surprising just because of the fact that you held them out for all that time because of that shoulder injury, the stinger that he got. And you're like, we're just going to ease him back in. We're not going to take it hard on Dak. And then you make him throw 58 times in a game. Kind of weird to me, but it was needed to be done in this game in order for them to move the ball down the field. But Dak Prescott, 42 of 58. The efficiency was absolutely tremendous. 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that interception shouldn't really count, but it does. The man was, the look in his eye, he was poised, composed, patient. He knew he was going to get hit, and credit to this offensive line. They played tremendously for most of this game, considering the actions in the prior, or like the earlier week, like Zach Martin being out and Connor McGovern getting his first start at right guard. I was left to think that this was a bad situation for the Cowboys offensive line because on the inside, especially with Vita Vea, he was still an absolute beast inside. I thought they were going to get turmoiled inside, and that really wasn't the case. They got some pressures. They got some uncomfortable situations for Dak Prescott, but I felt like Dak was so composed and patient. He knew the hits were coming, and yet he waited for the receiver to get to the right spot and put it in the right place at the right time. It was amazing to watch him. Now, running-wise, you could sense that he was a little nervous to get the old legs going again, especially on one of those cuts. He broke out of the pocket, but he went inside through the middle, and he tried to cut, and I felt like he didn't want to put too much pressure on that ankle, and was kind of just a little hesitant in a way. I feel like that's always going to come with a guy with a severe injury like that to his ankle. And I hope that he gets a little bit more comfortable with that as the years go, or as the weeks go by. I did sense that maybe he's not 100% like mentally there to run the football all the time. And there was some like run design plays with the read option and maybe that toss in the red zone inside the 5 to Zeke where you're like, I don't know if it's ready for that, but I think Kellen Moore was really good in his play calling. The only real criticism I have in the play calling and the decisions by Dak and Kellen Moore were inside the 20, inside the red zone. I felt like they tried really hard to get that just bomb of a play. They tried to get that touchdown immediately. They didn't want to ease their way into the red zone. And they just went for a bomb inside the end zone all the time, and it just wouldn't work for most of these drives. So I felt like they could have just gone for the easy 3 or 4 yards to get the first down and get on goal-to-goal situation. And Kellen Moore or Dak didn't want to do that. They went for the home run every single time. I don't like that for every single drive, and I felt like it was a consistent thing throughout this game. So we'll see as the weeks go by if this is a game plan, if this is a strategy that will always happen in Dallas for this offense. But I felt like that was a questionable thing because there were many third and short, fourth and short situations, including that one drive to where they settled for a field goal. And I felt like for a 3-yard gain, they could have easily gotten that with a 5-wide set or a 2 running back set. And yet they didn't go for it. They trusted Greg Zuerlein after those few misses. And I just didn't get it. But they constantly went for that home run ball every single time rather than just getting the easy yardage. So that could affect the red zone efficiency, and I think it did really affect them in this game. But overall, Dak Prescott found the relationship with Amari Cooper, and I mean, Amari Cooper looked really damn good. I'm a skeptic when it comes to Cooper of being a guy that you can trust in for 17 games for the season, depending on his ankle, on his foot, and all the surgeries and injuries he's had with that. But he proved that he is the number one guy on this team. I will say that he is the number one guy. We'll see for the next 16 weeks what that entails. But CeeDee Lamb, great in his first game in his sophomore year, but the drops are concerning. There was plenty of those balls that there's no excuse. There's no excuse for a guy of that talent. And it's reminiscent of Amari Cooper in his first couple of years in Oakland. Remember? Like, he had the drop problem, and you're like, if he could just put it together and get rid of those drop issues or limit the amount of drops per game, this guy can be a stud in the NFL. I'm thinking the exact same thing when it comes to CeeDee Lamb. If he could just limit those, because I mean, he was tied for fourth in drops last year with 9. He already had like 2 or 3 in this game, including that one turnover that could have impacted the game even worse. But like, he's good. Like, he is damn good. He had that early touchdown with Dak, which was a beautiful sequence. And for the entirety of this game, when you needed those critical catches out of CeeDee Lamb after the few drops, he was there. So hopefully this is just the jitters and the emotions running high in a Thursday night game to start off the year. But I hope that CeeDee Lamb gets rid of this little bit of a drop issue, because he is just too damn talented to waste some of those receptions and those catches on drop balls. But overall, that was great. Offensive line, like I said, was impressive to say the least. Unfortunate news with Lyle Collins. He will be suspended for the next 5 games. And the Cowboys coaching staff thinks that Ty Nsekhe or Terrence Steele will be a good enough right tackle. God help them if they actually think that, because without Lyle Collins and Zach Martin, we'll see if he can play next week. It should go his way because of the timeline and playing on Thursday and having to wait till next Sunday. With some negative tests, I think they'll be fine. But I think it's a good consideration, a good shout to put Connor McGovern still at right guard and then put Zach Martin at right tackle. We'll talk about that in the preview for next week. And then for the running game, Tony Pollard looked pretty good early on. I felt like he was very confident in his decision making and really his feel for the system. I think now is a good time to really release this guy and let him do whatever he wants in this offense. Zeke, he only carried the ball 11 times. They only ran it really fucking that many times. They really didn't do much. He was a good blocker, especially with some of those blitzes and those packages that the Bucs were throwing at him. I need a game to where he can run the ball a lot. This really wasn't a game that you can evaluate what Zeke can do in this offense or what Tony Pollard can do in this offense. After about the second quarter, Tony Pollard was pretty silent, and Zeke was just a blocker at that point. He did have that one opportunity to get that touchdown, and he had that one-on-one. Blake Jarwin missed the block, and that's on him. Blake Jarwin did not play especially well in this game. I think with the amount of open field that Zeke had and the supposed speed is back based on the weight loss, it was disappointing for him to just get tackled one-on-one and not get that touchdown that could have been a critical point in the game. So if there's one play you could really evaluate and say, is Zeke different this year from previous years? I think that was the play, and he already failed once. I'm not ready to just give up on Zeke, even though I've said trade him. I still think that should be true, but if you're paying a guy $80 million, I feel like those are the plays that you should really earn your contract on, and he didn't. So now that we got the offense out of the way, let me get back to the point of what we expected out of this game, or what I wanted to see in this game. I expected Dak Prescott to be great. I expected the weapons, even the loss of Michael Gallup, who has a calf strain now. When he was on the field, he was amazing, and he was just an absolute catch monster for Dak Prescott. The weapons are there. We know what they're going to be. They're going to be great. The tight ends, they're there when you need them. They're good blockers, except for that Blake Jarwin one. And they can be good receptions, critical situations. When Dak Prescott needs a good 3 or 4. I don't think Blake Jarwin was used enough in the vertical threat, so we'll see what happens with that. And I think they're going to share the ball now with Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin. Dalton Schultz played amazing for me last year, so it's good to see him get a little bit more reps with the first team this year. Offensive line played better than I thought. The only real thing is that you got pancaked by Vita Vea sometimes, but the holding calls, they were. It's always a case of the Cowboys too, where they always get those holding calls in the worst possible time. It's always on a big yardage, or when they need to stay in field goal range, especially with Greg Zuerlein's difficulties. They always got that penalty to get them out of field goal range, and that's just unnecessary and unacceptable. But I think overall, the offensive line played well. The defense, I know it was going to be hard to get pressure on Tom Brady with that great offensive line. DeMarcus Lawrence played better than anybody defensively. Micah Parsons showed some glimpses of like, yeah, he's pretty damn good, right? We expected this, right? Like, we know DeMarcus Lawrence is one of the best players on this defense. We know Micah Parsons is going to be really good. And it was just a matter of the concerns of the interior defensive line at stopping the run and the secondary. Without Malik Hooker, it was KZ, it was Curse, and they completely failed the test for me. This is where I get into the case of, like, we knew all of these things about the Cowboys. We knew Dak Prescott was going to ball out. He's hungry. He's ready to get back on the field. He proved that. These weapons around him are going to be nice. We knew that, and that's what happened. This offensive line, now that it has its tackles back, and if they can stay together, they can be just fine. The running backs, if you utilize both of them, that's just another few weapons for Dak Prescott. And maybe the running game wasn't as good, but we'll see. The future's still up in the air for this running game, but they were a key part in this game as far as blocking. The defense. We knew the secondary was bad. We knew that the pass rush wasn't going to be there, and that we have no pass rush. We know the concerns about the linebackers and what impact they would have on the game. But stopping the run is key. But again, don't give up the big plays. Don't give up a huge amount of yard after contact. Don't let them get 5 yards before they're even touched in a run play. And guess what, guys? All of those things are still true and were true on Thursday night. Every single time the Bucs ran the football, I did not think anybody got touched prior to 5 yards after the line of scrimmage. They gained at least 4 or 5 on every rush. And I'm surprised it wasn't even more, because the tackling was pretty bad for the defense. The pass rush, it's a great offensive line. Randy Gregory was pretty silent for most of the night. DeMarcus Lawrence had that one fumble punch, but no sacks, not a lot of pressure on Tom Brady, and those turnovers are kind of deceiving in a way, because 2 of the interceptions, Tom Brady threw a Hail Mary. It could have been returned. That could have been an incredibly difference maker type of play on Thursday night, but Jordan Lewis just came up short. He only had like 2 more guys to get past on that interception. And then the interception by Leonard Fournette's tip ball, he should have caught that. And I think it was Diggs that caught the interception. I could be wrong on that. That's just, it's good to see them actually execute and really take advantage of those. Offensively, they didn't do that, but defensively, at least you get those turnovers. But the pass rush wasn't there. Stopping the run wasn't there. And most importantly, your secondaries or your cornerbacks are, other than Trevon Diggs, are terrible. I mean, they're absolutely terrible. And the fact that Anthony Brown stayed in that game after the second quarter is embarrassing, to say the least. That man got smoked. I literally wrote it down because it was before the big Antonio Brown play, but I felt that every time Tom Brady threw it down the field for at least 10 to 15 yards, Anthony Brown was the guy for the tackle. Good that you tackled him, but it's bad that you're always there. You're always the guy that's getting picked on. We hate bullies. We absolutely hate bullies. And there should be no bullying, right? There are some cases to where you allow yourself to get bullied. If you don't stand up for yourself, prove them wrong, and make a difference, you are going to continue to get bullied. If you just allow it to happen, if you just continuously give them a reason to bully you, there is some blame to go your way. Eventually, you need to step the fuck up. Eventually, you need to take charge and say, I'm tired of this. If you want to earn yourself a contract, Anthony Brown, an extension with this team or stay on the fucking team, you need to play better than what you did on Thursday night, because that was one of the, I mean, that was so bad. I mean, last year, I'm blanking on the name from last year, of the corner that played so bad for Dallas that he was kicked off the team. I mean, he got cut because of how bad and how many big plays he gave up. I don't even remember his name because it doesn't matter, his name. I got the feeling of that with Anthony Brown. Anthony Brown was always picked on, and gladly so. Jordan Lewis got picked on, and at least he put up a fight sometimes, but I felt like it was more of a case of Mike Evans dropping the ball. Mike Evans looked weird, right? Like, we can all agree that Mike Evans looked horrible in this game. He didn't look focused. He didn't want to play, because I get it that in the thick of things, when you have a defender right in front of you and he's blocking your view of the ball, and he may get a little touch on it and it could affect the entire play. There were some passes to where the ball was glimpsed. I mean, like a nail, a thread was touched by that ball. And it didn't look like it affected the ball rotation at all. And Mike Evans just gave up. He didn't even try to catch it. He kind of just like one-handed it and like, all right. I still think Jordan Lewis played okay, not great. Trevon Diggs, he gave up a few plays, but nothing serious. And I feel like he's improved since last year. So that's good. But I didn't learn anything from the secondary. That's the bad part. I didn't learn anything. I didn't see growth. I saw the same old bad secondary for this Cowboys team. I said it in the preview. If they can just show me just little by little that they are getting better and not worse, I will give this defense credit, and I will feel like we're heading in the right direction. I felt we took 3 steps back with Anthony Brown. This man is one of the most experienced guys on the roster, and especially at his position. Like, we're not ready to put Nashawn Wright on the field. We're not ready to put Kelvin Joseph on the field. But I'm ready to take that chance and take the bullet with Joseph rather than letting Anthony Brown be on the field, because that man is supposed to be teaching these other guys. What are you going to teach them? To give up a bomb to Antonio Brown? And let's not give like the safeties a day off. Like, Curse and KZ weren't playmakers. They didn't make a difference. You could have thrown Jeff Heath out there. It wouldn't have made a difference. You could have thrown in Xavier Woods. It doesn't matter. This secondary was horrible. And I don't understand. And I could say bad things about this offense too. And I don't know what else to say really about how this team is the exact same. And I'm not impressed by this loss. This is not a moral victory for this team. If you have the ball for over 34 minutes and over like almost 10 minutes more than the opposing team, with more drives, you should have more drives really, because you had the turnover margin, but you both had 13. You had more yards. You had more plays. You had plenty of more plays. You had more first downs. You had more third down efficiency. It's on the offense for not executing in the red zone. If this offense is so good, why can't they score? Why do they have to settle for 3 points? That's unacceptable. You shouldn't be 1 of 4 in the red zone if you have 2 wide receivers that are going to go for 1,000 yards or more. You can't settle for a field goal even if your quarterback's balling out. I love Dak Prescott, but the fact that he couldn't get it in the end zone frustrates me. And now for the star of the show, Greg Zuerlein. I'm not going to put blame on Zuerlein because he made that critical field goal at the end. If he didn't make that field goal, man wouldn't have a job right now. My problem is with the coaching staff. And that's where we go to the root of all these problems. Because I feel like there has been no change, there's been no difference with this coaching staff, and that's why the Cowboys lost on Thursday night. For you to not to go for it on 4th and 3 from your inside your like 10 or something, like inside the 15, and settle for a field goal in a critical situation, that's on Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. You didn't want to take the chance, and it supposedly Mike McCarthy's an analytics guy now, right? Like that's the point he made to get this job. He's an analytics guy now, right? Analytics show that you have a higher chance of getting that first down and scoring a touchdown than just settling for a field goal. Analytics show that you should go for those 4th and shorts and go for those 3rd and shorts and not run it on an inside handoff to Tony Pollard, to Ezekiel Elliott, when you know that you can't run the football and you've been throwing dimes all night. Why settle for an inside zone? That makes no sense to me. And how about, most importantly of all, didn't you learn anything from 2016 Dallas from giving the ball to Aaron Rodgers for over a minute left in the game, up by a field goal? Why the hell would you give the greatest quarterback of all time more than a minute to throw and a chance to win the game by, like, only down 1? Like, you know that Tom Brady's going to run down this field, even with or without timeouts. They had 2 timeouts when the Bucs got the ball back. And they threw away 1 because of the false start. Even then, Tom Brady threw it because the defense can't stop anybody. The defense didn't stop anybody. They got turnovers. Great. You did last year with Mike Nolan. You got plenty of turnovers. You still lost a bunch of games. Now you're doing it the same way with Dan Quinn. You get a bunch of turnovers. You don't do a goddamn thing with it. You gave the ball back to the greatest quarterback of all time. That's on you. For you not taking the chance on a 4th and 3 to extend the drive, to get to a closer chance to get a touchdown rather than a field goal and go up by more than a field goal, it puts more pressure on Tom Brady. You didn't want to put any pressure on Tom Brady because you gave him a field goal. You gave him a field goal with 2 timeouts left and over a minute to go. That's... what? You don't do that. You don't do that to a guy that's won 7 Super Bowls. This man is born for these situations. Did you see the look on his face? Did you see the look after you scored that field goal? Man wasn't scared at all. I'm putting the blame on John Fossil for this game. Fuck Greg Zuerlein saying that he's going to take the credit for this loss. The man that should be on the hot seat is John Fossil right now. Because Mike McCarthy, John Fossil, and this front office allowed this kicker to not play any in the preseason. This man was recovering from a back injury, which is one of the worst injuries you could have as a kicker. He didn't get comfortable. He wasn't 100% ready to kick in week 1. You let Nicewander kick field goals in the first 2 games, and then you brought in some other guy for now, but you knew Greg Zuerlein was going to be your week 1 starter, even though he wasn't ready to be the week 1 starter. John Fossil has been given every opportunity to build his own special teams. They said, you do whatever you want with the special teams as long as they're good. John Fossil, you were the best special teams coordinator in Los Angeles with the Rams. That Rams special teams was amazing to watch because of all the trick plays, but the execution and the discipline that they had. John Fossil was extremely responsible for that. And Greg Zuerlein was his guy. The long snapper that they have in Dallas now is John Fossil's guy. The punter that they have in Dallas is John Fossil's guy. They are saying, do anything you want. We love LP Ladisor, but we need to move on because it's John Fossil's special teams unit now. He's been given everything he's wanted. The kicker, the long snapper, the punter, the special teams unit, how you run the special teams. And they are still trash. Your kicker wasn't ready for week 1, and that's why he missed chip shots. Because you thought that a guy with a bad back going in week 1 was your kicker. John Fossil, you're an idiot. Mike McCarthy, you're an idiot for not being prepared for this situation. The special teams didn't do shit. When they got a touchback, cool, I understand that. But when you actually had a time to punt or to receive a punt, receive a kickoff, or to do a punt yourself. It was a block in the back. It was a 35-yard game for the Bucs kickoff team. What? That is 1/3 of the game. 1/3 of the game is special teams. And it is an F every single time for John Fossil. And yet no one's talking about it. No one's talking about how bad the special teams unit is. And even on field goals. Does it look like they're trying to block the field goal? No. I'd rather them try to go off sides and give them an extra 5 yards than just not taking a timeout and freezing the kicker. Does freezing Ryan Succop, like, is that actually going to help them maybe miss the field goal? Probably not. But the Cowboys had 2 timeouts at the end of that game and did not freeze the kicker at all. Mike McCarthy just said, no, we're just going to let those 2 timeouts go off the board. We're not going to use them. And, we're just going to let him kick. Even though he's a really great kicker. And our special teams unit's not going to try to block it. Did they really try to block anything? Did they really try to do anything on special teams? No, because the special teams unit sucks. John Fossil sucks. And he thought that a kicker with a bad back was your kicker for week 1. You suck. You're an idiot. You are an idiot. And that's why this Cowboys team isn't going to make a difference. Dude, it's the same exact team. They made the same bad decision. They gave Tom Brady the ball with over a minute left. Who does that? Who's an idiot for thinking that? They didn't ice the kicker on the last field goal of the game with 2 timeouts on the board. Just to see if he can kick it. Let him kick it. If he makes it, cool. But take the timeout. You have them to your disposal. Try to block a field goal. That'd be nice. That'd be really nice to do. John Fossil has been given everything, and this special teams unit is still terrible. This offense still can't get it done in the red zone. This defense still can't stop anybody in the red zone and can get all the turnovers they want, but they still give up points. They still gave up 31 points. The Cowboys played one of the best possible games they could have against the Super Bowl defending champs who played one of the worst games I've seen them play since they've been together. And they still lost by 2. How was that impressive? How was that a moral victory? You kept it close. Let's just say this is the same exact stat sheet and you didn't know who was playing, but you saw 2 teams that put up really great numbers offensively. There was a bunch of turnovers one side, a bunch of penalties one side, and the time of possession is absolutely 9-day difference. And I showed you Bengals, Cowboys. Cowboys had all the same stats. You'd say, that's ridiculous. Why did the Bengals win that? How do the Bengals win that? But it's because it's the Super Bowl champs. You think that it's okay. You think because, oh, well then that shows that the Bucs are not as good as we thought. No, they're good. They just had one bad week. They were 7-5 at some point before they really turned it on. We saw the 7-5 Bucs here, and the Cowboys still couldn't beat them. This team is supposed to win 13 games, right? This team is supposed to win 13 games and win the division, but they can't win even though they had the advantage in time of possession, turnovers, penalties, total yards, total plays, total first downs, and insane stat sheets. You mean to tell me this is a good football team? You mean to tell me that the Cowboys are ready to go? Right? I'm seeing the same old 2020 Dallas Cowboys here. Yeah, okay. All right, sorry. I get it. You want to be optimistic, and there are some things that was impressive about this team. Amari Cooper impressed the hell out of me. Offensive line impressed the hell out of me. DeMarcus Lawrence probably played one of the best games he's played in a very, very long time. But guess what? And Anthony Brown's going to lose you the game. Greg Zuerlein's going to lose you the game, and this coaching staff's going to lose you the game. Yeah, okay, all right. When we're in week 10 and the special teams unit is one of the worst in the NFL, I mean, like as far as like kickoff return yards, punt return yards, like penalties, everything. When they're the worst in the NFL again with John Fossil, and no one's talking about it because Dak Prescott's throwing for 500 yards a game. Well, okay, we'll see. I'll just throw that out there. Okay, I'll just throw that out there. This is embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. It really is. Cowboys' best day, still not good enough to beat the Bucs on their worst day. That's the difference between a great organization and a absolutely undisciplined and unfocused organization in Dallas Cowboys. And guess what? Your your right tackle is going to be out for the next 5 games. Congratulations. Week 1, you lost one of your great wide receivers. Your best guard got COVID, and your right tackle is now suspended for 5 games. And your defense is still pretty bad. I mean, they're still pretty bad. And I didn't see anything otherwise like to say like they're better. How are they better? How are they better? Tell me. They actually have linebackers now? Go right ahead. Give me that argument, because I don't care anymore. I really don't care. This team didn't impress me. This wasn't a moral victory. And when they go to they go to SoFi Stadium to face the Chargers and they lose again, come back to me and try to give me that same argument. You're welcome. The voice of the voiceless, realistic Cowboys fans, stand up. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time on the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. This team sucks.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now, would you lose if it been a better draft pick? And do you cuss when your team...